Welcome to Home Education Matters, the weekly podcast supporting you on your home education journey. Hello and welcome to Home Education Matters. I'm joined today by Wesley, who is part of our A Day in the Life series that we're doing this Christmas, where we just explore a little bit about different home educators' days and what they look like, because I'm noticing that every home educator has a completely different looking day and every day looks slightly different for every different home educator. So first of all, hi Wesley, welcome to the podcast. And would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your home education journey?
Okay, I'm 43. I live in Surrey. I've got an 8-year-old, and we decided to home educate him after a couple of really negative run-ins with schools and local authorities and things like that. Yeah, and it's been going really well so far.
How long have you been doing it?
It's coming up to 18 months.
Ah, so you're bedded in nicely by now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how does your child enjoy it?
He loves it. It's we were finding when he was in the local primary for a while, and from 4 years old, as you know, they normally start at that age, and he kept having run-ins with older kids. The teachers were just telling me it was happening and not actually doing anything. I'm like, but are you not intervening? And they went, well, no, it's kids being kids. And then why are you telling me?
Yeah, if it's not an issue, why are you raising it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And the one that got me is he had an incident in the playground with two older boys. He was, bearing in mind he was 4. They stole his hat and were passing it between each other. And then he kind of got the ump and shoved one of them over and took the hat back. And then they pulled me up and said, look, this happened. I was like, all right, but doesn't sound like a me problem. That sounds like a they problem. And the lady said, no, we can't allow him to put hands on other children. I said, all right, do you know that that's what happened? She said, well, I was there. I saw it happen. I went, oh, okay, so you watched these older boys take my son's hat and throw it amongst themselves to the point where he got annoyed and shoved one of them, and you did nothing. And I was like, that's not a good sign.
It's like something from The Simpsons, isn't it? I watched The Simpsons.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
My only school experience, because my two have never been to school, is watching The Simpsons, and they have the bully. You know, they have these bullies that always nicking people's bags and stuff and throwing it between. And every time I watch it, I think that can't really happen. Does that really happen in real life? It does, does it?
It happens. And the thing is, my son's he's a very energetic boy, and he wants to be everyone's friend. And he never does anything to hurt anyone or ever. He's just not made that way. But he's very big for his age, and he will stand up for what he believes is right. And as we all know, kids, they sometimes get it a bit wrong. But yeah, I just felt at the time, I was like, well, you're not looking after his interests. You're looking after what's easiest for you, as opposed to what needs to be done. And I just felt that it was because they didn't want to have the awkward conversation with the other kids, as opposed to they were looking after my son. They just didn't want to say to the other parents, your kids need reining in. So we took him out of that school, and we were lucky enough to get the opportunity to put him into a Steiner school, which, because he's quite physical, I was like, well, that'd be brilliant. He was in the kindergarten bit. He loved it. He had a great time. The lady running it was like Earth Mother, and they would learn all about how to make bread and how to communicate, how to express your feelings. You know, the really important stuff that in mainstream education you don't learn until you learn by accident, by proxy, as opposed to actually being taught it. And then when he moved to the older group, like the year 1 for them, which would be year 2, I think, for mainstream education, I think it is. There was one kid there that was just violent and aggressive and horrendous. And he physically hurt my son 4 times in a month. And then he was physically hurting other kids. It was horrendous. It was an awful scenario. And I kind of ended up saying, well, how much longer is this going to go on for before you step and do something? It was the same problem. They were telling us it was happening and not doing anything about it. Eventually, I just went, me and my partners went, we've had enough of this. We're just going to pull him out and home educate him for a while. And because of the whole COVID lockdowns and everything, it made it quite an easy transition for us.
Because I'm guessing over COVID, you'd been doing a bit of home educating anyway during lockdown and things.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm completely honest, I don't have much faith in mainstream education the way it currently is. Mainly based on my experience, a lot because I work with kids. I teach martial arts and sports to children. I have done for 20 odd years, and so many of the children that I work with, and I've worked with over the time, they all have the same story. Like, they're unheard, the parents aren't supported. There's kids running, like, doing horrendous things, and it's just being brushed off as, oh no, it's just kids. But it's not, though, is it? Because I maintain this: if something would happen to my son in an educational environment, a place where he's supposed to be protected and safe, if something happened to him that I would react aggressively in the adult world, then it shouldn't be happening. I kind of, when we were dealing with it when he was at the Steiner School, I said to his teacher, I said, look, this one boy keeps messing with his stuff over and over and wrecking his work, but nothing's happening. You're not doing anything. And because I said, like, if I went to the school playground every day and one of the dads poked me in the chest and called me a name, first time I'd be like, whatever. Second time I'd be like, that's a bit rude. Third time I'd have a serious word with him. You know, and fourth time you'd probably punch him in the face. Do you know what I mean? Like, we do it. So, but why are the children expected to be able to withstand it? Just take it, and just take it and take it.
What was their response to that? Because it seems like that should be something they were stepping in and dealing with.
Well, it got really weird. They said that, oh, you know, this boy has, you know, he potentially has learning needs, and I just said, look, but at the end of the day, if I have full sympathy for anyone that has neurodiversity and it's so broad, you know, it can really affect the behaviour, and I get it. But my son shouldn't have to take violence on the chin, quite literally, just because this kid has learning needs. If he can't control himself in public with other children where he's a risk, he should have the necessary support in place. It's just that simple.
So the support structure in the school just wasn't there, and so you chose to bring your child out, and you've been home educating him for now 18 months.
Yeah.
So talk me through a kind of typical day there. So what does that look like for you?
A typical day, I will wake up at about 7:15, 7:30, something like that. We then have breakfast and do an either, because he goes to a tutor twice a week. So I think it's important that he learns from other people as opposed to just us. He goes to a tutor twice a week, same time, same days every week, where he does things like he'll do writing and reading and all that kind of stuff. I'll then pick him up. I'll take him to an art class. And we play guitar together. He does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 3 times a week. What I've found with my son specifically, structure's everything. If it's unstructured, because what I learned about children from teaching kids is it all comes down to routine. And it might be boring. And I know a lot of the other home ed parents are like, oh no, we just let the kids sort of show us what they want to learn. I went, that's great in principle, but in reality, that isn't how the world works. So what happens when that child is in an environment where they have to do things on a schedule and they're used to doing whatever they want? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not too sure that's the move. And what I found with my son, at least, if it's too broad, it's too wide, it's too open, he kind of starts to unravel a little bit. He doesn't like it.
He quite likes having a structure to his day, and that works for you as a family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it much easier to manage. I know that on a Wednesday, my partner takes him to a home ed social thing where he does a multi-sport class, and then he hangs out with his friends and stuff. So I know that day I can spend working, and you know I do Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday with him. But we tend to structure everything day to day.
Does he have homework from his tutor that he then does at home, or is all of his learning done when he goes to his tutor twice a week?
All of his learning is done when he goes to his tutor. He does every pretty much 4 days a week. He'll go to a structured class of some sort. If he can't, for whatever reason, I've got a load of materials that I do with him, and sometimes they might say, oh, you know, we need a bit more practice on, like, the minute he needs a bit more practice on forming particular letters or particular words, and we'll just sit and we have little worksheets that I found, and we just go through them. It takes 20 minutes, but it's, you know, when you're developing any skill, doing it every day, but doing it for 20 minutes, half an hour is usually enough to make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you see it panning out in the future? Do you see this as a long-term journey sort of through secondary, or are you going to see how it goes when he gets to that age?
I would like to see it go through secondary, but it essentially comes down to him. He's a
Mm.
very sociable kid, so he likes being out and around other kids, and I think that's really important. And obviously, he's on the jiu-jitsu team, so he's got lots of peers that he hangs out with and stuff. But yeah, we'll just see where he ends up going. Because one of the things I found when I was at school, I hated school. When I started, I didn't enjoy it at all. Is I wasted so much time learning so many things that literally I have never used since.
Mm.
So many things. It's almost better off specializing in something that they're interested in, because they'll learn a lot more about that thing. Like he plays guitar, so he loves rock music. So that's what he's learning. He's learning a rock syllabus. He does a tutor once a week, and then I work with him twice a week. A lot of people said, yeah, but shouldn't he be learning classical? I'm like, why? He's still learning to play guitar, whether you're learning to play it distorted and downtuned, or whether you're playing the chord on an acoustic. It's the same chord. It's just that because it interests him, those particular sounds and those particular songs are interesting him, he's still learning the same skills. It doesn't really matter.
I think being able to follow your child's interest is, like you say, it's amazing how much they can learn when they want to learn it. And if
Yeah,
they don't see the point in it, it's almost like cramming information in their head that they just doesn't
yeah,
go in because they just don't see the point of it.
yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I'm very aware of is sometimes there'll be things that come up, like, oh, such and such is going to this, and I'll call, it'll be like a group of some sort, and it'll be kids home ed yoga or something, and I'll be like, what's the point? He's not going to want to do it. He'll sit there and go, I'm bored after 5 minutes. Or there's a lot of services out there that all say, oh, if you pay, like £100 an hour, we can teach your child all this stuff. And you look at what they're learning and how they're teaching. So, well, why are you charging so much money? I should start charging. Because that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't have the government stamp.
As home education has got more popular, there are increasing number of classes and providers that are putting forward a service, and you have to be just like you did there. Really have to do some due diligence, don't you, and see
Mm.
actually what you're getting for your money.
There's so many groups that we've been to that are just, don't mean to disrespect anyone, but they were terrible.
Mm.
They were just kids running amok in a room. And I'm like, so what part of this is educational? So, oh, but in the corner there's a science bit, but no one's there. They're all just running about. What are we doing? Like, it's fine if that's what it is. It's fine. That's fine. But you need to say that. You can't say this is an education thing when clearly it's not led, it's not directed. So how can it be educational?
It's interesting because when my two were younger, we used to go to things that were educational, and the
Mm.
socialisey bit, it just didn't interest me at all because I had two close in age, so they just hung out together. And as they've got
Yeah.
into their teens, it's flipped completely the other way now. I don't go to anything educational. I only go to socialising things because it's
Mm.
about the need of your child at the time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So my last question to you is, and I'm asking this of everybody and I'm springing it on them because I love the spontaneity of the answers, but if you could sum up your home education life in 3 words, what words would you choose?
It's varied. It's challenging in the best way, and a third one. Oh, I don't know. I can't put it into one word, because one of the things that I love is that, unlike a lot of the parents around me that have kids in school, I see my kid more than they ever will at these
Yeah,
formative. I can't put that into one word.
I know exactly what
You
you
know what I
mean.
mean?
I do. And when I first started home educating many years ago, when people would ask me about they would
Yeah.
ask me, and I would say I home educate, and they would invariably say, "Oh, I could never do that. I could never spend all my time with my children." And I thought that's the best bit.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
It always
Same.
made me sad because I know exactly what you mean. That
Yeah.
honor of being able to spend your
Yeah.
time, like much more time with your child, is such a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I love it when we go to like social things like and maybe he doesn't know anyone there. He doesn't cling to either of us. He just goes, doesn't even look over his shoulder. And that, to me, a lot of people said, "Oh God, doesn't that make you feel rejected?" I'm like, no, it makes me confident that he has that. He knows in his soul that we're there. He knows.
Secure attachment.
He doesn't need to check where we are because he knows we'll be there. Yeah, and he'll just go. He'll just go and you'll have a good time. But yeah,
that's wonderful. I mean, it sounds like it's working really well for you, and long may that continue, because it's such a positive choice, I think. And it's amazing to hear such a sort of positive, affirming story of home education. So thank you so much, Wesley. It's been really nice chatting with you today.
No problem.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's Home Education Matters podcast. See you at the next one. Have a lovely day.